Welcome to Louder Than Words. This is a brand new, awesome, off the chain podcast with Dr. MTW, aka Mr. Wilkins, and your host, MJ, Real Talk with Monique. You know me from the other podcast. Check it out though. Today we are going to get into why it's so important to know your history, know where you came from, because y'all know what the saying is. What is the saying? If you don't know your history, if you don't know where you came from, you're going to repeat the nonsense that happened in the past. So it's all about knowing who you are, what your heritage is all about, and how you can use your information to elevate yourself to the next level. Because look, our ancestors put in work. So why not us follow through with that, capitalize on that, and make this a better place? So having said that, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. MTW. How you doing today?
I'm all right. How you doing, Mom?
I'm doing amazing. I'm doing amazing. You know how I am. I'm always about my faith, right? You know, my faith might be a little bit different from your faith, but the bottom line is we serve God, period, point blank. So I'm always about, look, God, I know I'm here for a reason, and I know I'm not here to struggle. So I'm always about getting out there, putting in that work, and claiming my money. How about you, baby?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's something I'm working on right now. Trying to get that savings right. Trying to learn everything I can about trust and life insurance, investing in myself and my children as I work and as I go to
Hey,
school. I'm doing the research right now. So once I get the game, I'm definitely gonna pass it on. But you definitely
that's
got to invest in
awesome.
yourself. That's the whole point. Saving. That's something my dad always told me. Like if he ain't tell me nothing else, he said you better save that money.
Well, your daddy told you right. And you know he already know what it is because he's definitely got himself set up pretty nice and was able to retire and all the things. And it's interesting too because people will hear about your story. You did time, you was locked up and all that, and to hear you having this conversation about saving and what your dad instilled in you in terms of the economic side of things, people would kind of put you in a box, and be like, well, how could that be so? How did he get that knowledge? I thought all these young brothers, black men, didn't have daddies and they weren't pouring into their lives. And that's why they got into the streets and enjoying gangs, all the things, the stereotypes. So, what I'm loving about you and I having these conversations is you're going to break some of the myths. You're probably going to prove some things right, but you are going to bring your experience to this conversation and enlighten some folks. You ready to enlighten them?
Yeah. It's like you said about importance of knowing your history. That's kind of what got me on my path now. Just doing the research, doing history, because a lot of people we take it for granted, and don't and not too many people will tell you you should go look this up or you should study where you came from or you should study the history of your people because we don't really know who our people are first off. So that's the first start searching right there, figuring out who your people are, and then a lot of times it don't lead to nice paths. It's usually dark paths. It makes you angry when you do this research, but at the same time, it's telling you a lot about what's going on, and just even researching history for me, it taught me the importance of saving and how not to continue. That's one way of getting out of this cycle, this generational curse to me, is learning to invest in yourself and trying your hardest not to be mesmerized by the carrots dangling in front of you, basically, by the trinkets and like the material things. So I'm just even being in prison because that's part of my background. Being in prison, being in the street, that's something it told me like the stuff that I was living for and trying to stack up in my life, it really wasn't worth it. It's like I could have used the knowledge, even some of the bad things I was doing in the streets. I could have used that to invest in myself. Honestly, it's like
Yeah.
when you just moving with no direction, it's kind of it's you blind, you blurred. Your vision is blurred by the material things.
That is so true. And first of all, just to hear you having this kind of a conversation about what you've learned through your life experience, right? Although it wasn't the best, but you actually you made the best of it. And that's what I'm so proud of you for, because there's so many young men, because you went in at 15 years old as a youngster. And there's so many young men that unfortunately don't come out with insight, intellect that's been improved because of reading and taking advantage of those learning opportunities that you did. So for me, it was hard as a mom to not have you in the home, but I've always known and I've always prayed. And you even made some comments about me, how I've been praying, believing God was going to get you out of there and all that. But at the end of the day, he didn't release you early. But you've told me a few times that there's so many reasons why you think he didn't, and because of what you've learned and what you had to go through in terms of just purpose in general. And purpose, we don't really understand overall. We just know I'm here for a purpose. Some people believe that, some people don't. But for those of us who do believe that we're here for a purpose, we look back at to all of our trials and tribulations and we try to put the puzzle pieces together to understand what is that purpose. And listening to you right now sounds like you're starting to put those puzzle pieces together. You want to talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, for sure. I need traumas, and I really believe that growth takes trauma. Like in order to reach true growth, you have to experience some form of trauma. Because most people that you see that rise from a situation, they went through something that strengthened them, and it can either, like I said, strengthen you or break you. And prison strengthened me, and I was kind of forced, like in a terrible situation at a young age. I was on the maximum security prisons, war zone at all time. It's a hostile environment. And some people, I believe this too, but I've heard people say is being in prison is the closest you could get to being enslaved. Even during my research, I realized how true it is when I was studying the Constitution and I came across the 13th Amendment, where it literally says that slavery is illegal except for if you become a criminal or a felon or ward of the state, basically. And then when I
Mm.
researched more, I realized like it's really no slavery was never outlawed really. It really was it's loopholes put around it. So like, realizing
Wow.
that just kind of made me change my ways. It kind of made me think about what am I really doing out here in these streets? Like who am I really giving my energy to? I'm out here, you know, probably having little small riches in the streets that's really nothing if you ain't got no property or no assets behind it. So you basically just you got pieces of paper, and you keeping up and you trying to you in competition with your surroundings, which is nothing. Nobody around us in the hood is really doing much. So it's like I start realizing like this is all distractions. I'm being blinded. That's what began me on my research. Like, I got to start figuring out what's really going on. And I start realizing it's a chess game being played in this world that we've been a part of since the beginning. So I'm just trying to find my
Wow.
place in it and bring awareness through my writing.
Well, you just said a mouthful, and I know that you have so much more to share and just really kick knowledge. You know what I mean? So you mentioned being at a place now where you're doing the research, you're realizing a whole lot, you're getting enlightened, and that is fueling more of your writing. You've always loved writing. You've been a writer all your life. You've just been a writer. You're a storyteller. You do research, so you kick knowledge, all of the things. But now you're at a place where you can actually start putting it to a manuscript form or to a screenplay or whatever it is that you want to do with it. How is that going for you? Like, do you know where to start, or are you just kind of pouring out? Like, talk about how you're going ahead with your writing.
Well, as of now, I'm just writing. I'm just letting it go. I always kind of knew a little bit about like writing a full novel and stuff, but it was always just the part after that. So I'm getting into the publishing. I'm researching all of that. I've always wanted to tell stories about our struggle in a different way, just from the eyes of the gang member or the street dude or even the oppressor. That's my way of trying to tell the story in modern times, basically show people like what's really going on and how we got to try to reshape our thinking. So right now I'm just working. I'm working on a little short. Well, it's not even a short anymore. I'm working on a story called the Plantation Has Wi-Fi, and it's breaking down what's going on from my point of view, just being in the system of what I see our people or how our people keep the this generational curse going, in my opinion.
Ooh, that's so powerful. And you know, what's crazy is that when you were in your teens and first locked up, and I had Golden Steps Youth and Families and, you know, doing all the things with the young people in the neighborhood, trying to just deter them from getting caught up, right? And allowing them to use their talents through the performing arts. There's a young lady that was a part of the group, so many, but this one particular young lady was very wise at an early age. And she was into photography and doing magazines and things. And I thought about you even then, and I was like, my God, he's got an opportunity to literally come out with literature that is thoughts from behind the concrete walls. And just even how you survived being behind the bars and inside the concrete walls. It's just so much that you have to share. And I love that you are doing it. Like you said, you could do it from various perspectives. You're into character building. I've seen that. You can literally build characters and you can take any point of view and have that character speak from that point of view. And I think that is so talented and amazing of your writing from what I've seen so far. So I know you're going to go far with it. So where does that come from? Your ability to just create these characters and literally talk from any character's point of view. What is that? Where'd you get that?
I really don't know. I believe it's a gift, but I've always been into reading since I was a kid. I've always been into literature, fiction stories, nonfiction. I just always, even movies though. It's just, always just respected the art of being able to create the story of it. You create a whole world and characters and a story and put a message to it. That, to me, that's a superpower that I always wanted. You know, you always that was one of the things you always instilled in me was the importance of reading. So you had me reading October Sky and all these crazy books on trigonometry and war strategy and stuff. So that did a lot too. It kept the fire fuel. That, and then just my life always been, you know, it's been filled with trauma since a young age. That probably has something to do with it too. Just always, I would always escape reality and be creating characters in my head, just painting a picture in front of me so I could block out the real world. And it carried on in prison. I just got drowned in I was be drowning myself in my books, writing and reading just to escape. And it worked for years. It still does.
Yeah, that's a good point because I was actually going to ask you if you felt like being able to create these characters and these stories and create these worlds, if that helped you survive prison. But you just gave me something that is even deeper than that, that you were escaping before prison. You were able to, I won't say hide, but cover yourself in storytelling and creating and writing even before prison. You want to talk about that, or is that something we're not talking about today?
Yeah, we could touch on that another time.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. So you've always been gifted with the ability to write and to create. I mean, your mama's a writer. I got a couple of books published, but I'm telling you, what you have is beyond. And it, y'all, whoever's listening, is not because I'm his mother. It's because I am a person, I actually life coach as well on the side because I life coach in the area of just helping people find their talents and develop their talents and move forward in it. And I don't care if it's my son or if it's a neighbor or whoever it is. When I see people who have a gift and a talent, I just really want to help them pull that out and bring it to the forefront. And that's what I'm doing with my son. And I see this amazing talent and his abilities to, I mean, he can do anything from not just write the stories and the novels. I mean, he's lyrical, like he writes songs. I mean, he can put a whole movie script together given just the space and the time. And therefore I am definitely behind him 100% to see his vision come to life. And y'all, when you start getting these little excerpts of what he's doing, you're going to want more as well. So Keith, having said all of that, you know, mom is going to be behind you, period. But it's not because you're just my son. You are truly talented. Have you heard that from other people? Like, what are other people saying from what they've seen of your writing?
Yeah, honestly, since day one when I first started, one of my friends in prison was the one that got me writing. He was like, man, because I was writing poetry and write music. He was like, man, the way you write that, you telling stories. Like, I bet you could write books. I'm just like, I started like studying other black authors and seeing how they write, but I didn't really like the way to all the black authors wrote because they kind of left out some deep. It was like the urban stories just it wasn't catching me that much. It would just be like about street stuff, like stuff that I already lived through. It's not really taking me on a journey. So, but there was some really good black authors that I started reading up on, like Ralph Ellison. That's one of my favorite authors, the author of Invisible Man. I started researching other people that I was writing this, and I was like looking how they write it and telling the story from the hood. And I was like, man, I could do that. And then even the other people that I didn't like, really, I was like respecting they craft because I'm like they putting in the work and they books is selling. So I'm like, man, I could tell that like, this is a great way to tell my story. And it started off like maybe I could make some money from prison, but then as I wrote, I realized like, no, I love this. Like it's a like it made me, it gave me, I don't know, it's a feeling I felt I can't explain. It was like a high just writing, and I couldn't put the pen down.
Wow. That's when you're truly gifted. It's in you. It's a talent, it's a God-given talent. And I've heard this said by so many people. If you're doing something that you truly enjoy and you could care less if you got paid for it or not, because you're gonna do it anyway, that's your gift. That's just it. That is your gift. And you have to exercise, you have to utilize that gift. You have to put that gift on display. And I'm glad to see that you're moving forward in that. What kind of if resources are you in need of to kind of help you get there besides time? We know everybody needs a resource of time, but is there ways that people that listen to this podcast can help you out? Do you need a mentor? Do you need some guidance? Do you need some resources? Like, what do you think you need to really get to
Probably
the next level with your writing?
yeah, like you said, time is the main thing, honestly. Because right now I'm in a position where I would love to just be able to write. Yeah, it's probably time and a mentor. Honestly, that's something I always said I needed. I think everybody need a mentor or accountability partner for sure. I was just talking to my friend about that. I'm like, yeah, that's most definitely a mentor though.
Mentors are great. Well, in the line of business that I'm in during the day, on my day job, y'all, we're always pushing for mentorships as we bring in newer hires into our company because that's how you grow. But even when I had the Youth Foundation and just the people that I know with other nonprofits, they are really big on ensuring that people who are either young, a little inexperienced, but they have a drive to be something greater, whatever that is, that they should have a mentor, someone that has been there, that has gone through that journey and can actually help someone else along. And even more than mentors, sometimes you need.
To me, it's important because just from my experience growing up, I definitely didn't care about my last name or my like where my grandparents came from. And I'm not gonna say that definitely that's why I was in the streets, but I feel like the pride I feel now researching, if I would have had that as a child growing up, I probably would have been reluctant to be on the block with the homies, like looking for a different identity. It's like when you see because you hear the stories of Africans or our ancestors fighting for freedom in the Reconstruction process and the constant battle and winning, losing, and just they constantly went through a reconstruction process, and then we keep ending up in this same place. So it's like when I see the history of our people, and then I look at how I was doing in the streets, it's like I'm doing the total opposite of what they was fighting for. But it's like people tell you that, but you don't really get an understanding until you do the research yourself. So me, I used to be one of them dudes that be like, oh, man, I don't care about all that woke stuff. I don't care, man. That stuff, man. I'm looking at what's ahead of me. I don't care what's behind me. But then I keep on bumping my head, just trying to go forward, and then I realize everything you do is a blueprint. There's a blueprint to it. There's a history to it, and that's what your history is. It's the blueprint. So you can't get a job without a blueprint. They're gonna give you a blueprint, a manual, a blueprint, whatever, just to get structured into that position. It's the same thing with the history for me, because the more I learn, the more pride I get, the more strength I get. And I even see we got like I don't know the names yet, but it looked like we got some writers, not our authors in our in our ancestry. So I'm like, it kind of makes sense of why you feel these certain passions today too, and give you a sense of pride. It make you want to do something for them people. That's what I'm doing. I'm getting all the as far back last names as we can. But I see like once you run into 1867, it kind of stopped because that's when slavery was like going through its getting abolished, and the names might have been getting changed, and a lot of times they wrote the names down wrong. So it's really hard, and it's kind of at 1867. Like once you get there, it get tricky. So I'm trying to figure out a way around that. Right? Yeah, it has their birth dates. I believe after, like if they was born before then, it has their birth date, of course, but it's no information other than just the year they were born, from what I've seen, unless they were free. So I'm trying to see because basically they wouldn't be put down as, sad to say, as human, but they would be put down as property. No, that's true. Yeah, I'm a question asker. I never accept any. I don't accept the middleman. I always got to go to the or as close to the source as I could get, because I just understand after being in that system and dealing with the law how scandalous and manipulative humans are. They even from the beginning, like all the stuff we taught to trust without a shadow of a doubt with these systems and all this is all it's all written with loopholes to certain people's advantage, and you got to be able to recognize it so you don't get caught up in it. It's a long line of ignorance though. Like parents didn't know, they parents didn't know, and if they did, they didn't tell nobody. Like sometimes people get so broken where they just get to the point of acceptance. And you see that a lot in the hoods, where even the elders in the family, they just be like, man, I'm just glad he alive. I'm just glad he's still here. They like they taking whatever they can. So and then a lot of them people was placed there. Like people got placed in Watch from New Orleans. All these people they was put here, and they with no vision, with no help, no programs to assist them. All the programs that the Black Panthers and all these other people tried to get together for the people, the COINTELPRO, FBI, they shut it down, and they took it, made it their own. They turned it into WIC and welfare and food stamps. So it's like every time somebody do try to reach out and give them a hand, they come up with something to shut it down. And after so long of you seeing your efforts get thwarted, you start to not believe yourself. Even the fighters start to not believe, and they start looking at the hood for how most people look at it. Like them is just a bunch of YNs. They just lost. But they not the only ones that's ignorant to these things too. It's just they other people that's ignorant, they not in these situations. They don't gotta worry about that. They don't gotta worry about finding something to take their mind off of the destruction in the hood because they don't see that every day. Yeah. See, I always, when I research, I try to follow the money because the numbers don't lie. And what I realized, well, in prison, is that majority of the population is black and brown, but if you was to research the crime rate in America, majority of the drug crimes and murders is committed by non-Hispanic whites. So the numbers don't add up once you get in prison. It's like it's you would think only blacks is committing crimes, but that's not true. We just getting the most time for it, or blacks and Mexicans for some reason we just getting the most time for it. And then when I realized how much money is being made off of prison, that's when I really opened my eyes. Like it's $1 trillion industry. Not only do the private prisons make money, but also food industry. Uh, it's a what else? The food industry, the insurance industry through the bail. It's a bunch of places that make so much money off of the backs of inmates. So It's like when you realize like something like that is that much of a power source in America. It's like it kind of open your eyes to like why would they want to stop something like this, and why is it so prevalent in America? It's like that's what made me start want to research the history and like want to get up out of that and start building that sense of pride so I don't continue to feed the system. For sure. That's something else we don't talk about enough is the family members of the inmates going broke, just trying to fight and get you out, bail you out, keep you alive in there with commissary and packages. It's a lot that goes to it. Everybody making money except for the community. I agree. I feel like we got like the Panthers did. They created their own forms of propaganda. That's what the government did. All these people that ran the country, the conquerors, all the colonizers, they used propaganda to influence the people to put a narrative in the world that wasn't true. But we got to use that same method to put truth into the world. And then you got to realize too,
it's hard to counter this because it's already been instilled in all of us so much. Like, even the people that's fighting me, myself, I battle myself with my thoughts. Sometimes I gotta continue to remind myself to stay focused because it's too easy to fall back into the mind state that I was born into. It's too easy to just remain docile and not fight. But that's the thing. We as individuals who are conscious, who are passionate, we got to do our part, which is how you do it through the podcast. We can't go out there and be like, "Hey, you doing wrong. Hey, man, you got to do this way." Nobody gonna listen like that. You got to do it the way that they showed us how to do it through the media, music, like you said, through books. That's the only way, really. For me, it is. And then we still got the foot soldiers out there too that they out there every day talking to the youth. They just gotta remember to stay conscious and try not to straddle the fence. Just, I'm very happy. I'm very happy that you set this up for us. I'm proud of you too, and thank you for this opportunity. And I look forward to doing more in the future. God bless you.